Huguyam sigriansans per faglio goroe spianu asam morn bokle faglio goroe.
The Macallan distillery stands high above the River Spey at Craigellachie. It was one of the first distilleries on Speyside to be licensed in 1824, but it is likely that there was a farm distillery here before that, since this was one of the few places where the river could be forded, and thirsty cattle drovers make good customers. The distillery grew up in the shadow of Eastrelkie's house, an attractive L-plan tower built in 1700. In the 1890s, the old house was rented by the Earl of Elgin and used as a shooting lodge. It was while he was staying here that the 9th Earl received the news that he had been appointed Viceroy of India. Nothing remains of the original distillery, although some of the traditional dunnage warehouses are over 100 years old. Macallan has long used Spanish oak ex-sherry casks to mature its make, lending a richness and depth of character to the mature whisky. The individual casks which go into each batch of the Macallan are mixed together on site prior to being bottled elsewhere. This is unusual, but it means that rigorous quality control can be exercised by the people who actually make the whisky. Bob Dalgarno, Macallan's Whisky Maker, has overall responsibility for maturation and cask selection. In effect, he is the custodian of the Macallan's quality and high reputation. We were privileged to meet him in his sample room.
No, very, very, very few now. A number have done doing it in the central belt, but I mean under Macallan as it was independently, it was seen as very, very important. Obviously, that we looked after our own quality, our standards that we needed to work to, and it's just followed on from. It's really just followed on from there. Obviously, grown from where it was in the early days, but it's good to have a handle on all the whisky on site, from maturation right really to bottle, and at any given time we can get in and sample quality, colour, just to see how things are progressing.
Yeah,
so it's good
because most distilleries would send their casks, or indeed send it in bulk, to the bottling hall, and the selection and disgorging, yes. And I don't think many of them do marry now, but that would be done at the site at the bottling.
Yes.
Plant.
I mean, samples can be sent down from other distillers down to a central area where the nozzles are working at, and then the casks will probably follow. I know one or two instances in the Edrington group that happens, who is a parent company. But yeah, because it's much easier, but the complexity of stock that we have here makes it very difficult to do that, and that's not talking up our job. Just that we're fairly unique in that we don't add any colour, so what you have is what you've got to work to, and sometimes you can draw hundreds of samples for an individual bottling in order to get the balance of character and colour to produce consistently the end product, right from 8-year-old fine oak to 30-year-old.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a bit. You start with this white spirit. It comes off the still and it's gin clear. It's clear white, and then it goes into the cask. And during the course of maturation, colour is one thing. But talk a little bit about what happens during maturation. I mean, I'm leading up to asking you about what your job, the difficulty of finding casks which will marry together to produce the quality that you're looking for.
Well, as you can see with the new spirit, if I can give you, I mean, we've got one here which is fill-in strength between 63 and 68 fill-in strength. We usually fill into cask about 63.5, and if we can have a look at that. It's got a character all of its own already, which chemist-wise, I mean, it accounts for about 30% of the final character of the final product. We've added a little bit of water to it. The water opens up, makes it much softer in the nose, but opens up and allows us much easier to describe the whisky. We don't get alcohol burn as you would. Alcohol burn, no use for nosing. which means you could just go home after the first couple of samples, know what's good to a whisky maker a week. So we'll look at that there, and week on week there's 2 or 3 fillings here a week, and we'll assess every one. There's nosers on site which assess it fit the fill, but then we'll take notes on that as to how
on each weekly batch
each individual one.
Each individual.
So there's two to three a week, depending on production.
To make sure there's no slip in character.
Yeah, and we'll look at that and see what the profile it comes in as. Now we're looking for something that's relatively fruity, estery, apple, pear-drop character if we can. Some cereal coming through in there. If we can pick up a little bit of linseed oil, then so much the better. But basically, that's what we're looking for. Oily, quite robust, quite a heavy spirit. And we've seen through experience that works very well with the wood that we fill, the cask that we fill into. Now, from there, obviously, it's going to develop. We developed a sampling plan late 90s, but seriously in 2000. And we've looked at every cask up until, and that was from 1945, which was the oldest cask that we had, right to 1998, assessing every individual cask for colour, for character, and really where we would put it, a vat age, and so on, so that it would make us easier as hopefully we grew, which we have, to draw less samples.
Yes.
But to be able to develop the stock.
How many casks do you have on site?
At the present time, 121,000.
Yeah, and so samples were drawn, and these were assessed for colour and so on.
Continually.
Yeah.
It's continually been done. It's a never-ending process. We've still got 99 and 2000 to do, but we've also sampled 2001 forward, and that's to predict how the spirit is going to mature. So 18 months to 36 months, where the big hit in colour is, the first 2 years, and so it will give us an idea 10, 12 years out in front how that cask is going to deliver. We can speak to the wood suppliers, look at toasting levels and so on, seasoning, just to see what's impacting. But that's more the laboratory side.
Yeah.
We just look at the results, and again, what we've seen in years gone by, and the sampling that we've done, we're able to have a better idea where it's going to go going forward.
And what is your wood policy? What proportion do you fill into European sherry butts, and what proportion into American oak?
We're still filling. No, I would say it's probably 70-30. But I mean, I can check in that one. So don't put that in.
Yeah.
But I mean, we still fill a huge amount of European oak casks.
Yeah. You Macallan fills more European than any other distillery that I know of.
Well, that's very much the house style.
It is.
It's not really typical Speyside, although we're sitting in Speyside, we're fairly unique. And nice to be that way, but I mean, the European oak gives us such a different style of whisky from everybody else.
Well, what flavour characteristics does the European oak develop?
Well, looking through where we started from, it's interesting to see that how the estery, the pear-drop character develops, but it never really goes away. So you're seeing a fruity element all the time. So you've got apple and citrus fruits coming through, but you start to see a rich dried fruit character. Fruit cake or raisin, prune, figs, dates. Not too dominant, but you see it developing through time, and also a lot of the wood spices, that comes out: ginger, cinnamon, lesser so, nutmeg, you name it. It's there, cloves as it gets older, and then you go 18-25 upwards, and you start to see the toasting kind of taking effect, where you get the smokiness coming through as more as the spirit penetrates the wood. You're getting much more of the wood.
And so it's layers of complexity
coming out really. But that's ideal. I mean, if everything delivered the same, it would be great. But you've got some casks at 18 that may only deliver an apple citrus character, and more an oak, more a wood driven character, but less and less of your wood spices and of your dried fruit and so on.
Yes.
So there's a whole range of characters and colours that come out on filling the same casks on one particular day. So nothing is is the same as such.
Of course, because Macallan again is unusual in you don't colour, you don't adjust the colour at all.
No, everything you see coming through the sample
from the
room
cask, yeah.
is exactly as it comes out the cask, and it's a nice little challenge to have. You know, it's one of the things you don't think about, but you're quite proud to stand up and speak about. That I mean, it is a natural product. There's nothing else added. People often ask, you know, how you can do it, but you know, and we've left a range of samples sitting out here. I mean, this is how it develops. European oak in general gives us darker coloured whiskies. American oak, much lighter, very different style. Even using the same spirit, it's much more in-house style, as we would call, driven by new spirit. Less wood driven, more sweetness comes through. The apple citrus character certainly comes through is always there, and much lighter in colour. Yeah. So it's a case of we need to balance, you know, one against the other, character and colour, flavour profile to a certain style, whether it's European oak, and latterly we've produced a range of American oak driven whiskies, which are probably 75-25. American oak to European, to highlight just the influence that the wood has. Yes. And I think it's important for us, because we are so wood driven, was to show that here's the same spirit filled into a different type of cask, and this is what you get, which may appeal to a totally different whiskey drinker. Mm.
So if you get an instruction from whomsoever, the marketing people, that they want you to prepare a batch of Macallan, traditionally sherried style whiskey at 18 years old, how do you go about it?
Well, looking at what we've, back to the sampling programme that we've undertaken, we've had a look at all these casks, and we try to guide them on how much we think that we can supply in a given year. There's no point in us saying yes, we can do something that we cannot. And even with the 18-year-old, you know, year on year, it's going to change. Yes. And it doesn't run along the same things as wine, where it's season to season. But there are differences year to year, and you'll pick up on that. But we like to be out in front so that we have a number of bottlings done before that year, so we know how that style is going to go. So we'll take the information that we've got from the information and the data that we've collected, and we'll say, well, in 1988, it's going to be maybe a little bit more smokier, than might be slightly drier in 87, more woody in 86, rich and spicier in 1985, and so on. So there's a procedure for forecasting. We sit down and we have a chat about it, and market and commercial have done their forecasting, what they see in market, what they see in markets that they see growth in, and they'll set down a figure that we'll work to. You know, and that'll be the bottom line for the year, and we'll probably do a little bit more over and above that for any unforeseen eventualities. But that's pretty much how it works. So yeah. The assessment has allowed us to report better, be more proactive, deliver more of what is required by the business into the marketplace. So it's just, I mean, for us it's better use of time, but it also highlights in that what is achievable and what is not. Because I said earlier, if we can't do something, we'll go and say it. It may well be that numbers are down in certain years because the stock doesn't fit the profile of what we're trying to put together.